Alright, let me hop on the mic and explain my build here. Gotta listen to Hideyoshi here and pick up the abundance of loot that Mizuki just crapped out. Anyway, so what I am using is 7-piece Ninigi's Grace. Ninigi's Grace is one of the new graces that drops in the new difficulty, Dream of the Nioh. And what this does is it gives you a metric ass ton of key damage. Which actually seems quite strong. It doesn't give you that much damage on paper, but uh, when you have key damage on winded enemy, which admittedly is very hard to get, I've only got one here. If you got it on both accessories, then you would essentially have 40% extra damage, and they would be while they're out of key. And since you have so much key damage stacked, you would basically be having a lot of extra damage at all times. And then the other one is Susano. I'm using Susano right now because that gives you versatility. Since I'm playing a martial artist build, both the Tanfa and the fists have a lot of moves, so I like to weapon switch a lot. You know me, I like to do that in any game. So that basically means that I have that versatility buff at all times. So as you saw there, I'm not too hot at this game. That was not a good run, but you saw how quickly his key was going down. This is on the hardest difficulty. Now, I have to give a disclaimer. The first thing is that no one's really doing the story levels or the main campaign right now because the Underworld is way better. You get way more experience. The loot can go up. Also, you get persistent buffs in there that they're basically like account wide or game wide, meaning that if you get like the ethereal drop rate or the item level up in there, then that will carry over to any mode of the game. So if you're doing like the Torii Gate, the campaign, or picture scrolls, or the Underworld, you'll always have those buffs on. They're pretty much persistent. They're kind of like it's like a roguelike type thing where you get currency in there and you can level them up. So ideally, you want to just go straight to the Underworld once you get to the hardest difficulty because you can pretty much plow through it later. And honestly, this is new game plus 4. This is the 5th time we've been through these damn levels at this point. I think it's nice to have some semblance of variety. The Underworld, for what it's worth, it is relatively nice. I'd say the main problem with it is that some of the levels don't really lend themselves very well to going through them quickly. It does feel a little bit disjointed because you can't always get to the end relatively fast enough to not be frustrated. Some of the bosses you will want to get all the buffs, and then other times you won't. The scaling is pretty crazy. If you have 3 people, the enemies have a ton of health and they have a ton of ki. That's why I think that I haven't done that much testing with this. I was grinding on this like all day today, and this is I just finished this build like 20 minutes ago. It seems like it might actually be quite viable, at least for the weapons I'm using, meaning the Tanfa and the fists, because you're going to be doing a ton of damage. You're going to be chaining things together, and then you'll also have finishing flare. Finishing Flare increases damage dealt in proportion to the scale of your key damage when performing a melee attack against a winded enemy, grapple, or final blow. So that means if you can actually keep them out of key, you're going to be doing a lot of extra damage. Now, the hardest part is going to be getting the grace that you want on top of having damage versus 0 key enemy. That's like the hardest thing to get right now. This DLC is a mixed bag. They only added like 3 new enemies, which means there's like I think like 4 or 5 more soul cores when you count the bosses. And they also didn't really add a way to mitigate the RNG, so you can't like defile any item but the accessories through the Stone of Penance. It's a real buzzkill. A lot of people are complaining about it. I actually got relatively lucky that I was able to get all the pieces done in just a couple days since the DLC dropped. But if you kind of got tired of the RNG before, and you're interested in the loot, but you didn't like how many layers of RNG you needed to get exactly what you wanted, then you might not want to bother playing this game right now. I know that there's a bunch of bugs right now. I hope that they will do some more polish, but they've been pretty adamant about saying that this is going to be the last content for this game. They may add more things later on. I would hope that they just allow you to just defile any item and allow you to temper start effects. I think that's why the PC version for this is actually going to be pretty cool because people are already talking. There's already been some modding done actually on the PS4 version with the save wizard or whatever. So maybe the PC version of this will be the ideal version, but I know not everybody is going to be playing it on PC. Uh, I put I don't know how many hours into this game on PS4, and starting over is going to be pretty daunting. If I did start over, I would definitely like them to have some means to mitigate the RNG. I think it's really stupid that there's just so much stuff that you can have, but it's really hard to get exactly what you need. And definitely for this build, having two things that have melee damage versus zero key is going to be very important. But there's not really a whole lot you can do. As you can see here, I have lucky drop on pretty much everything I have, so that hopefully I can get another one. That's like the only chance you have. There are scrolls. I think when you get to the end of the Underworld, which is 108 floors. That's a very common number in Asian mythology. Uh, you get like 5 extra floors that you can do daily, so it's kind of like a service game in that regard. Very similar to how the Twilight dungeons work, and I guess in there are apparently scrolls that you can use that will give you extra drop chance towards the Pacific Grace. But what doesn't make sense to me is by that point you've pretty much already cleared the hardest content in the game. Like it's a little odd that they really do want you to just play for potentially dozens of hours before getting the exact build that you want. I'd say that's my biggest disappointment with this DLC is they tried to fix things. They tried to add a decent end game. For what it's worth, it's better than the Abyss. It's like a tenth of the length. It's not 999 floors of the same 20 bosses. They're actually predetermined for one, and you're not actually disabling debuffs. You're actually giving yourself buffs. So if you're confident enough, you can just find one Kodama and you can get through the missions pretty quickly. But I think it's really odd that they basically want you to get all the way to the end and clear all the relevant content, and then you can get something that mitigates the RNG. It doesn't make much sense. There's a couple ways that they could fix it, but who knows if they're going to do it. There's been a number of bugs reported already, so hopefully when they do those bug fix patches, maybe they'll lighten up the RNG a little bit. I don't know how much they did after the final DLC in the first game. I played the first game like I think it was like over a year after they had already dropped support and done the final patch and everything. So I don't know what the patch history was there, but maybe there's a chance. Overall, the gear has gotten even better. There's lots of really cool stuff that you can get, but you pretty much have to get to the end of the end game to have any chance of just getting it at least somewhat guaranteed, or at least have some way of mitigating the RNG. And right now, the problem is that it's really hard to get exactly what you want. You're never going to get the perfect piece. And for a game like this, which has pretty good combat, but also has a really deep loot system, it's really weird that you can't really min-max in this game. At least not the way it is now. It's basically impossible to min-max. You kind of just have to make do with what you have, and that's really unfortunate. Anyway, I'll be doing a review for this Virgil and the Pirate Warriors 4 DLC probably sometime next week. I need to give myself time to do that. Maybe I'll get a little bit farther down here before I do this. But yeah, that's my overall opinion and the build that I'm running with. Thanks for watching.